Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a look at something pretty interesting. It's called the Liat Show.
Right. Created by Liat Portal.
Exactly. And our mission really is to figure out, what this thing is, where you can find it, and maybe what it offers someone who's, well, curious.
Yeah, and we're basing this on what Liat herself says, her own descriptions and the stuff she actually puts out on Substack,
Yeah.
trying to get under the skin of it.
And it sounds like it's more than just a regular show. I saw something about a story unfolding across timelines.
That's the phrase she uses.
Sure.
And what's really intriguing is that the listener, you're considered sort of an active part of how that story develops.
Okay, interesting. So let's start there then. What is the Liat Show? What's the basic idea?
Okay, so Liat describes it as a mix, a really dynamic kind of rapid-fire look at a whole bunch of things: history, music, science, entrepreneurship, business, art, food, even personal stories.
Wow, that's broad.
It is. But what's key, I think, is how she connects them. It's not just random topics. She uses these different angles, especially around Israeli culture and innovation, to build a bigger picture, trying to find fresh perspectives by linking things you wouldn't normally link.
Rapid fire, you said? Does
Yeah.
it feel like that? The pace?
Apparently, yeah. She mentions the pace is deliberate, meant to keep you hooked, always shifting between ideas. And she has this interesting self-description. She sees herself as an architect.
An architect, like buildings.
No, not buildings. More like she's building something new, something that doesn't really fit into the usual job titles. It's about creating something unique, her own path.
Right, forging her own path. And this unique thing, it lives mainly on Substack. For people who aren't familiar, what's Substack in this picture?
Good question. So Substack, it's basically a platform that lets creators, like Liat, publish directly to their audience.
Yeah.
Newsletters, podcasts.
Kind of cuts out the middleman.
Exactly. It allows for subscriptions, so it's a direct relationship. She shares her writing, her podcast episodes right there. Substack itself says it's a home for great culture, which kind of points to its focus on these independent voices.
A direct line, then. Creator to audience. How often does new stuff come out? Is it like a weekly show, or?
It seems more fluid. She releases new posts, new episodes kind of as they happen, as she explores things. Often she might group them into like themed sets, so you can dive deep into one area.
Okay.
But she also says you can just start from the beginning and it should all flow together like one continuous story that's still being written.
That's a different way to structure things.
Yeah.
And the podcast version, if you prefer listening.
Oh, yeah, that's easy to find. It's on Substack, of course, but also the big ones: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So you can listen however you like.
Okay, good. Now let's shift a bit. Why would someone, say, in the U.S., find Leia herself, her story, her perspective?
Yeah.
Why would that grab them? What's the appeal for a North American audience?
Well, I think a big part of it is just how diverse her background and interests are. It really comes through. You look at her About page, the episode descriptions. She talks about Israeli culture through so many lenses: music, food, art, business.
So it's like a window into that world, but through things people can relate to.
Precisely. And I think her skill is weaving those threads together, making connections. For a U.S. audience, maybe looking for something different, a unique viewpoint on another culture, but presented in a way that's really engaging. I think that could be a big draw.
And didn't you mention she's based in Silicon Valley? That often piques interest.
Yes, that's right. Living there in the sort of heartland of tech and innovation, that probably adds another layer for some people. It puts her right at that crossroads of, new ideas and culture. Maybe you get a glimpse of that world too.
It sounds pretty ambitious, this scoop, tackling big history stuff alongside personal things.
Definitely. Seems she's aiming to explore these major historical moments, but connect them to her own experiences and also look forward, future ideas. It creates this really rich mix. It's not just reciting facts.
And a big part of the show, I gather, is conversations she has with her father, Nissim. What's special about those?
Oh, these are really fascinating. They bridge generations, You get this firsthand view of history. They often talk about major events, especially the very early challenging days of Israel.
Right.
But what makes it unique is Nissim's perspective. He was an architect, actually involved in building some of the early infrastructure and housing. So it's history through his personal professional experience.
So it's not just remembering history, it's history from someone who shaped part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's personal history deeply connected to these bigger societal issues. Like they discuss public housing, the Bauhaus influence, how the Industrial Revolution impacted cities and people's lives. Hearing his firsthand stories, it just adds a depth you don't get from a textbook.
And Liat brings her own view to it,
All right.
right? Creates a dynamic.
Totally. She comes at it with her background in, like, entrepreneurship and business,
Yeah.
a modern perspective on these historical topics. So you get this really interesting back and forth between generations. They might have different takes, contrasting but also complementary views on why governments plan things a certain way, or the emotional side of living in those early housing projects. It shows how different generations see the same events.
That's fascinating how personal stories can light up bigger themes. Okay, so Lyatt also has this bigger vision, something about a school. How does the show fit into that?
Yeah, this is quite forward-thinking. She envisions a future kind of education system, one that takes cues from, like, the entertainment world, how engaging it is, and merges it with social media, the interactive part.
Wow, okay.
She even suggests, kind of provocatively, that the content she's making now for the show could be like the foundation for the compulsory education system of the future.
It's a bold statement.
It is. And she directly asks for support to build the most incredible show ever created, which really underlines that the audience, their engagement, their support, is key to making this bigger educational idea happen. The show's almost like a lab for it.
So the show itself is potentially a step towards something much larger. How can listeners actually help with that vision?
Well, the most direct way she presents is by becoming a subscriber. By subscribing, you're essentially becoming part of the process. You're witnessing it unfold, participating in it, and providing the means, the resources for her to develop these ideas further.
So your subscription isn't just paying for content, it's kind of investing in this future project.
That seems to be exactly the idea. It helps build the foundation for this innovative approach she's imagining for education and creating content.
Leanne seems really passionate about the show's potential. How does she frame the value for subscribers? Why should people sign up?
You can tell she's deeply committed. She talks about its potential to be transformative. And subscribing, the way she puts it, isn't just, paying a fee. It's an act of support. Supporting her as a unique creator, supporting a project she clearly believes is groundbreaking, something that could affect how we learn and connect.
She has some pretty strong calls to action, doesn't she?
She does, yeah. She asks people to unlock my potential to write the next great chapter, or says things like, your support would make a big difference. And importantly, she stresses that the audience isn't passive. She says, you are not only the audience, you are an essential part of the story. Really makes you feel involved.
Right, that community aspect is key. Now, for people who are really inspired, what about becoming a founding member or an annual member? What's the thinking there?
Okay, so on platforms like Substack, that reader support is crucial for creators doing their own thing. Becoming a founding or annual member, that's basically showing a deeper level of support. It gives her more significant financial backing.
More fuel for the fire, essentially.
Exactly. It lets her dedicate more time, more resources to making the show and chasing that bigger vision. The value for the listener is still there, the knowledge, the unique stories, but you're making a bigger bet, a bigger investment in making this whole thing happen.
And there was that analogy in the notes.
Right. The guidance suggested, thinking about it like, if you were a VC, a venture capitalist, looking for really innovative projects with high potential, you might see this show, this vision, as that kind of opportunity. Becoming a founding member is like being an early significant backer.
Got it. So for listeners who are thinking, okay, I'm interested, I want to support this, what are the practical options?
The main options on Substack are $8 a month, or you can do an annual subscription for $88, which saves a bit. And apparently her birthday is May 8th, so that's coming up. Could be a nice time to jump in if you're thinking about it.
Good to know. But what if someone's not ready to commit financially just yet? Can they still check it out?
Oh, absolutely. And this is important. All of the content she's released so far is actually free. You can subscribe for free and get access to everything she's already published.
Okay, so you can explore first.
Yeah, really get a feel for her style, the topics, see if it clicks with you. Then you can decide later if you want to upgrade to paid. And Substack itself, if you haven't used it, it's pretty straightforward, easy to use.
That's good. It's pretty amazing how far this show has already reached.
It really is quite impressive. The stats show subscribers from 87 different countries already. And within the U.S., 34 states. That shows some serious global interest.
Wow, 87 countries. That definitely says something about the appeal, doesn't it? It's not just a niche interest.
Absolutely. When you look at the list, states like California, New York, Texas, but then countries like the UK, Israel, Canada, Australia, Germany, India, it just shows how widespread the curiosity is for what Liette's doing. Her mix of storytelling and insight is clearly resonating far and wide.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. If you had to boil it down, what's the core thing the Light Show offers listeners?
I'd say it's a really unique window, a way to explore a whole range of subjects, but always through Liat Portal's very distinct viewpoint and experiences. It's personal stories, it's cultural deep dives, it's thinking about the future, all presented in this really dynamic, engaging way.
And if someone listening today feels a connection to that,
Then subscribing is the way to engage further. You become, like we said, part of this story she's building. You're directly helping her pursue this quite ambitious vision for what content and maybe even education could look like. You're not just listening, you're kind of participating.
right. So if people's interest is piqued, where should they go first?
Definitely check out the Laya Show on Substack. Just search for it there. And don't forget the podcast versions on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Listen whichever way works best for you.
And if they want to dig around a bit more, see what else is out there.
A quick search online, the Laya Show or Laya Portal Podcast, that should bring up more discussions, maybe articles, other places people are talking about it.
It really sounds like diving into the Liat show could be more than just consuming content. It's a chance to, I don't know, expand your own perspective, maybe have some of those aha moments, and support something genuinely original in the making.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. It's an invitation to join a journey that's still unfolding.